Hello and welcome back to the ALR Esports League for round 5 of season 4 here at Tokyo Expressway, the south counter-clockwise variation of this circuit. There are of course 6 different layouts here at Tokyo, and we are racing at the south counter-clockwise layout where we have the additional docks section added to the normal clockwise circuit. It is 8 o'clock on the dot. I think we have most drivers in the lobby. I'm not sure. I think there are a couple of teams that cannot field a full set of 3 drivers. But I think we are nearly ready to get this qualifying session underway. Please let me know if my audio is laggy or quiet or too loud, and I will make the necessary adjustments. Hello and welcome to everyone who is currently tuning in. I think I just want to double check that everyone's in. I don't want to start without someone. But yeah, I think everyone's in the lobby. If you didn't tune into last week's race at Lago Maggiore, I highly recommend you go check that out. We had action all the way throughout the 32 laps, I think it was. In the end, we got 39 laps of Tokyo Expressway, so this might be a little bit of a longer one compared to last week. But that just means we're going to get more action out on the racetrack. And that's exactly what we want to see. I don't think we're waiting for anyone, but whilst I wait for replies, I'm going to go get myself set up for this race. I usually am more prepared, but there are a lot of wires everywhere. But I don't think we are waiting for anyone. It's quite quiet, not hearing much activity. And so if we don't get the word that we're waiting for someone, then I think we will be able to get the race underway. Let's talk about the track and the cars a little bit. I think the Ford GT and the Supra will be 2 very good cars at this circuit. Lots of straights, not too many technical corners. I think the Aston Martins could be decent, as is the Lexus, in terms of cars that we have in this session. And so if we're not waiting for anyone, then we will get qualifying underway for 10 minutes to put these drivers into their lobbies. Hello everyone who is currently tuning in. If anyone knows what a good poll time is, actually, and could let me know, that'd be great. Of course, we'll see the bank laps being set. Okay. There we have a couple of there's a race ban for Spider GT, so they are only fielding 2 drivers tonight, and I didn't quite catch the start of the message. I think only one Project Racing United driver on this grid tonight. I think that is Auto Rachelon, actually, who is who didn't have the best of races last week at Lago Maggiore, had a couple of spins, and the Audi not treating him all too well in last week's race. Here tonight at Tokyo, it could handle a little bit better. Not too many high-speed corners to negotiate, and if they are high-speed corners, they are flat out. Not much of a corner anyway. It's a very short outlap, however, at this circuit, the shortest outlap on the calendar. It takes about 30 seconds to get from the pit lane exit to the start-finish line, meaning drivers can, well, that might change things when it comes to strategy. We'll have to wait and see. It's a pretty short pit lane that takes place in the car park, or the parking lot under one of the apartment buildings, I believe. Very interesting pit lane at Tokyo. A track that was added to Gran Turismo Sport as update 1.3, I think, halfway through the game cycle, quite close actually to the game cycle, and of course transferred over onto Gran Turismo 7, renamed as the south counterclockwise layout as opposed to the south inner loop, I think. Yeah, they're formerly known as the inner loop, now the counterclockwise from the clockwise circuit. Of course, you don't have the sausage chicane that's in the other variation of this circuit. Instead, we head on down to the docks section for a couple of right-hand corners. Nice trip down to the coast. But we're currently through the tunnel in the along the highways of Tokyo. Already got some side-by-side action. Cars in the wall. That snipes round in the barrier. In qualifying, that was, I think, an attempt at an overtake that didn't quite pay off. Let's get another look on that. On board with Snipes. We'll use the chase cam to get a full view of what happened. And he's gone down to the inside and pushed, I think that was Arrakis in the wall. And now he's got damage to the front bumper and suspension on his Porsche 911. It's taken us 2 minutes to get our first bit of contact in this qualifying session. Arrakis now trying his best to get out of the way, which is very tricky to do in a tight technical street track, but his damage is repaired. He can now slot in behind the traffic and get on with his lap. That means the only Project Racing United driver, Auto, will set the banker time. 55.2 is beaten by Iggy, who was 1.1 seconds quicker in the mighty Ford GT, which should be pretty good round this track. Got a couple more lap times being set in, most of them in the 55.2s. There's 3 55.2s in the top 4. Astroff, sorry, just outside of the 55.2s with the 55.3. Then comes the 2 Apex drivers, Hollywood beating out his teammate Fluffy Butt to 5th place for now, but still early days as he gives his teammate a little bit of a tow down the back straight, which can be very crucial actually around qualifying, especially at this track, to getting a good lap time. You could probably gain at least half a second with a good tow. And just like last week, the gaps are so close in the midfield, which can define making it into Lobby A or Lobby B. We saw last week that the cutoff was very close, only I think 2/10 between the pole sitter of Lobby B not getting into Lobby A. Prime Cole in 8th place as it stands, has his wipers on, but there is no chance of rain at this track. Unfortunately, this is the only layout of Tokyo that it cannot rain. Iggy's got past Auto actually on track, so is on course to set a faster lap time than him on this lap, but can he go quicker than his 54.0 as it stands? His 3/10 down isn't set to improve. We've got Lord Isildur currently running in 3rd place on the leaderboard, but we've got a couple of, he's also 3.6 seconds down on his fastest lap. A couple of drivers making their, well, most of the drivers making their way through the final technical twisty section here at Tokyo. I've got absolutely no idea who is the first drivers to come across the line. Hollywood improves, as does Fluffy Butt. The 2 Apex drivers provisionally going 2nd and 3rd, now 2nd and 6th. Hollywood's back down to 6th. Apex having 3 drivers actually inside the top 6. Astroff goes into 5th, and Auto Rational, sorry, down into 8th place, having been in 2nd a couple of seconds ago. Let's get an onboard lap with our current provisional pole sitter in from the Ford GT. We're halfway through the lap, approaching sector 2. It's flat out from here. He's a 10.5 down on his personal best so far. Did brush the wall a bit on the exit of turn 6. but he's foot to the floor, flat out through the high-speed back straight. That's not really straight. Couple of corners in between turns 7, 8 and 9. And 10 actually, down towards the heavy braking zone of turn 11, but he is coming into the pits and Auto follows him in. Prime Cole in the Lexus for Aero GT makes his way through turn 11. A couple of cars exiting the pit lane in front of him. But he's 2.5 tenths down on his personal best. The softs not really giving these drivers a lot of grip on their laps. Latari as well, he's 7 seconds down on his personal best. What about Astroff? Is he going to improve on his lap, or are we at that phase where drivers will be making their pit stops to put on a fresh set of tyres and really attack the final stages of qualifying? Hollywood goes up into the top 3 with a 54.6, and Oricus does improve for the Spider GT team. He goes into 4th place, 2 tenths behind Hollywood and 7 tenths off of provisional pole. Lord Isildur with a 54.7, I think that goes into 6th place. 54.9 is 8.5 tenths off pole position. But look at the gaps, less than a tenth of a second separating drivers in the midfield. 6 thousandths between Latari and Fancy Locks, and only 300ths between Fancy Locks and Astroff. A tenth between Autonomous and Astroff, and the gaps are marginal between the drivers in the midfield. We could have a very close cut-off point to Lobby A, and if the times in Lobby A are especially quick, then we're going to have a very close race in Lobby B. Fluffy Butt, though, is purple through Sector 2. Pole time in Lobby A so far is a 1 minute 53.2, 8 tenths faster than the current fastest time in Lobby B. I'm not sure what the slowest lap time is yet. We'll have a look at the end of the session. On board with Fluffy Butt as he makes his way through the hairpin. A little bit snappy on the exit of the corner, the slowest speed corner on the track. So they go up the hill, or up the slip road. Now 2 tenths down. He's lost 2 tenths through the middle sector. Or through Sector 2. Sector 2, sorry. Can he find that 2 tenths though through the technical final sector? It's flat to the line. Quite a long run up to the line from the final corner. Is he going to improve? I don't think he will. Hollywood does improve. Fluffy Butt doesn't. More lap times being set in. Prime Cole goes up into 4th place with a 54.7. 2 tenths off Hollywood. Only 6.5 tenths off of provisional pole position. What about further back? Autonomous in 10th place. Can he move himself higher up the grid with a minute left to go on the clock? He rounds his way through the final corner up to the line. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. 2 tenths off his fastest time, and Snipes as well, crossing the line without improving on his personal best. We're on to the final laps here in qualifying with only 50 seconds left on the clock. Iggy is currently on provisional pole position, trying to do his best to get into Lobby A. He makes his way through turn 6. Does he hit the wall on the outside? He doesn't on this lap. Gets perilously close. Millimetres separating his left tyres from the outside barrier, but he's not improving. Auto Rachelon with a 54.9 improves, but not into the top 8. Who will be the first driver to set a time? Latari won't be improving. He's out of qualifying in the pits in 7th place. Will not take no further part in the action in this qualifying session. Fluffy Butt, he's 9 tenths down on his time. He won't be improving. But what about his teammates who might have benefited from a tow but the tyre wear? I don't think he's made a pit stop in qualifying to change those tyres. I'm not sure he's going to be able to improve. Up to the line, we'll have to wait and see. It's looking close, but not a faster lap time. What about Prime Cole in 4th? Does he improve? He doesn't. Oricus will be the next to cross the line. He's down his time. Lord Isildur, does he move into the top 5? No, he doesn't. Does Iggy go quicker? No one improving at the end of qualifying. Vanzillox has finished. He'll finish in 8th. Astrov doesn't improve either. What about Snipes and Autonomous in 11th and 12th place? They're around the final corner together. Can either of them move themselves off the 6th row of the grid? It's not an improvement for Autonomous. It is for Snipes. He gains 1 position with a 55-1. And that is qualifying over for the 12 drivers taking part in Lobby B. Iggy is on pole position as it stands, but of course could be promoted to Lobby A. Pole time, a 53.2 in Lobby A, 54.0 in Lobby B, set by the Austrian for the Aero GT team. 2 Apex drivers in the top 3 as well. They could be set to... oh, Auto was on a lap. I didn't even realise. Apologies. 54.9 does improve, goes up into 6th place, but the margins are so close in the midfield. Only a 10th or 2 separating several drivers. But we'll have to wait and see who makes it and who does not. I think we just have to wait 1 more minute to get the end of qualifying because I think Latari being in the pits keeps the clock ticking. He could actually leave the pits now and cross the line before the 45-second timer runs out. Will only save about 10 seconds. And I think he's listened. I think he's realised we now have a race on our hands. Will Latari cross the line before the timer runs out? The qualifying action might be over, but the on-track action is still going. He's at the barrier on the outside and is now getting all the attention from the viewers. But with 10 seconds to go around the final corner, will he cross the line? Oh, he's lifting. He's going to run the clock down. And there we go, qualifying over. Well, let's run through the times from Lobby B. 54.0 is the fastest, 0.3 quicker than the 2 Apex drivers. Hollywood in 3rd with a 54.5, and then it gets really close. 0.2 separating 5 drivers from 4th to 8th. 54.7 to a 54.9. Fancelox as well with a 54.9, so that's... If you go from 4th to 10th, that's only 0.3 separating 7 drivers. And so, from what I am hearing, I think the top 3 have made it into Lobby B. We await for the official confirmation, but looking at the times, I think Hollywood, Fluffy Butt, and Iggy might have made it into Lobby A with their 3 lap times. I will update you when the grids, of course, come in. But if the top 3 go into Lobby A, if you ignore the drivers from Lobby A that will be demoted to Lobby B, the whole grid in Lobby B will be separated by 0.4 of a second. That is crazy to think. And we're going to get more drivers that will filter into the drivers that are on this grid. So the slowest time in Lobby A was a 54.8. So we're getting 3 drivers on this grid. We're going to have 12 drivers that are separated by 0.4 of a second. We're going to be in for a very interesting, chaotic race. I think track position, despite it being a track that's quite easy to overtake, there are plenty of opportunities. Turn 1 to 11 are the main ones. Slipstream is going to be important. I think getting to the front of the train and staying at the front of the train will be more important than hanging on at the back. Saving fuel in the first stint may be crucial, to try and get a shorter pit stop, to jump drivers in that pit stop window. The first pit stop window could be a crucial one. I mean, I recently had a race at Monza. I was in the Lamborghini Huracan, not a quick car in a straight line, but early on in the race, I got myself to the front of a train, and from there, I was pretty much able to control it. Drivers behind, they begin to work with you rather than against you. So if there is a faster driver in that train, it takes them longer for them to get through it. We'll have to wait and see how this race unfolds, but I think there could be quite a lot of contact with the barriers. Of course, Tokyo is a street circuit, one of very few in this game. I'd like to see them bring back a couple of street circuits. I'd love for a DLC to be added. I'd be happy if there was no tracks added frequently. We've not had a track added for a while, actually, but I'd love to see like London, Rome, Madrid, Paris, I don't know, New York, the old retro street circuits from the previous Gran Turismo games be added. They can be redone as well, and we'd still be happy. The grid is in. Primecol is on pole position for Lobby B. Confi for Arix is joining us as well. Bada Big also will start third. Now we change the race settings so that we can... Oh, someone's loaded in. Now we have to wait. So who have we got in Lobby B then? We've got two Spider, 3 Pegasus, 1 Apex. Apex doing well to get 2 drivers into Lobby A. 1 FGR, I think. And 2 Aero. So we do have a mix of teams in Lobby B. But I'm looking at the times. 54.7 is the fastest. 55.1 was the slowest. So whilst we set up the grid for the race, if you haven't already, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Join us on Discord as well if you want to chat to any of the drivers, of course. And if you haven't already, grab yourself a cup of tea, grab your popcorn, grab a snack, because we could be in for a very, 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 very good race here tonight. This will be my first commentary, actually, on Tokyo South since I hosted a league in the Alpine VGT. It was one race in the Alpine VGT. It wasn't a league in the Alpine VGT. That'd be horrendous. But I had the great idea to run the Alpine VGTs round this circuit for 50 minutes. Some drivers liked it. A lot of people didn't, but it produced a very good race. And so in these GT3s, then we could have a great race on our hands. So on pole position for Aero GT, it's Primecol. He puts his Lexus on he has the fastest time in Lobby B. Then it's Confi who starts in second for Arix. Then Bada Big in third. Orikis in fourth for Spider GT. And Auto Echelon in fifth. So we've got 6 different teams. 7 different teams inside of the top 7, because in 6th place it's Lord Asildo, and then behind him in 7th is Latari, the only Apex driver in Lobby B. In 8th is Fancy Locks. In 10th, we have the second Spider GT driver of Astro. Sorry, 9th. In 10th, we've got Snipes. 11th, Autonomous. And Milas is at the back of the pack. That's your grid, once again, from bottom to top. 4 tenths separating these drivers. And, well, we're at the closing stages of the first half of the season, as I'd say. 6 rounds for these teams to score as many points as they can. Of course, the top 5 teams then take part in the final 2 races, where there are double points up for grabs. And it is still very close between the top 6 or 7 teams, I believe. And so, despite these drivers not able to qualify for Lobby A, it's still great for them to score as many points as they can to help their teammates in Lobby A. Apparently it's not 39 laps, but I'm pretty sure it is 39 laps. It is. I think there was a mistake in the calculations for how many laps that we will be racing here tonight. I think because the Esports League is run on race distance, and the other South allowed was is shorter than this. So if everyone's ready, I'm not hearing any objections to say otherwise. Let's get this show on the road. Tokyo Expressway hosts the 5th round of the ALR Esports League. We've got 12 drivers on the grid for Lobby B, trying to score as many points as they can. It's a little bit of a longer race tonight, 39 laps, 5 red lights. And we go racing in Tokyo for this 6.5 kilometre street circuit. Confi gets away well, beats Primeco off the line and leads the field in the run down towards turn 1. Behind, Bada Big pulling for a move on the inside of the Aero GT driver, but Primeco holds the line on the outside. There's a Spider car running a little bit wide as Oricus nearly being shoved into the barrier. They're nearly 3 abreast in the run down towards turn 2. I'm not sure the track's wide enough for them to make it all through down the back straight, but everyone has survived the first corner so far. Heavy braking down towards the dock section. Bada Big's run deep. So many drivers have run deep. There's been a massive crash down at turn 2. 3, 4, 5 cars all been sent into the outside barrier at the docks. Bada Big, Lord Isildur and Fancy Locks, those drivers involved in an almighty lap 1 incident. As Confi leads the field through the first sector, several drivers hitting the barrier on the outside of turn 6. Milas from the back of the grid already up into 6th place, and is hunting down a spot inside the top 5. Natari, the only Apex driver in this lobby, doing his best to defend from the only FGR driver in the lobby. Oricus trying to attack on Primeco, who's defensive to the inside. He's late on the brakes, almost hit the race leader. Astrov now on the inside of Latari, moves up into 4th place. Couple of drivers wide. That's Auto, well, both Autos actually. Auto Rachelon getting ahead of Autonomous. Sorry. Snipes as well, getting ahead of Bada Big for 9th place. Those two separated by less than 1/10 of a second. But Convey moved his way up into the lead of the race and is set to lead the field at the end of the first lap, closely being followed by Prime Carl and Orikis rounding out the top three. Astro in fourth, Spider GT having a strong start to this race early on. Convey though having to defend the inside line from Crime Cole. He's going to have to try and work it the long way around on the outside, but in doing so might have opened the door on the inside for the Spider GT driver to have a little bit of a look on the inside as they make their way down the longest straight part of the circuit, but I don't think classified as the longest straight. Convey defensive to the inside. Prime Cold with the old switcheroo. Couple of minutes of contact there, three abreast behind. That's Milas gaining a couple of positions on Latari and Orikis, who's dropped down into sixth place. Prime Cold takes the lead, having started on pole position. The Aero GT driver back in control of this race. Milas carving his way through the field like a hot knife through butter. The top six have pulled away from the drivers outside the top six. Auto Rachelon in seventh, 1.5 seconds behind. But Bada Big, Fancy Locks, Lord Isildur and Snipes now running 8 seconds adrift from the race leaders, having been involved in that lap 1 incident. Astro now running side by side with Convey down towards the heavy braking zone of turn 11. Spider GT driver on the inside, the Alfa Romeo for the Arix Racing team trying to hold it round the outside. Convey's got the grip and got the traction to put the floor down and get the run up the hill. Milas will try and follow him through, and from the back of the grid he's already up into 13th. From 13th he's up into 3rd, just like his teammate last week at Lago. FGR have a habit of working their way through the field very quickly, it seems, in Lobby B. Convey's hit the barrier on the outside. That opens the door for Milas to swoop around the outside and already up into second place. He's gained 10 positions in 3 laps. Astro's going to try and follow him through on the outside into turn 1, but Convey's later on the brakes. They run side by side through the first corner. Astro swoops round the outside up into 3rd place. What a great start for the Brits. The Swiss though dropping down into 4th, and he might be under pressure from Latari behind. The Apex driver is now trying to move himself up into the top 4. On the inside, Convey on Astro, the 2 Spider GT drivers running side by side, 2 by 2, down into the docks. And a track limits penalty for Convey. His day is the start to his race is going from bad to worse, down to 3rd place, now running side by side with Astro in the Alfa Romeo 4C. He's going to have to serve a 5/10 penalty. The nature of this track being so tight and so narrow, the camera angles are very hard to see what's actually happening out on the racetrack. But it's clear to see that these 3 drivers are running very close together for the final spot on the podium. The 2 Spider GT drivers almost ganging up on the solo Arix driver tonight. Astro pulls to the inside, left-hand side of your screen. Convey pulls over to the outside and dives into the pits off of the medium compound tyres. He's leaving the fight. Latari, though, trying to look for a move on Orikis, but backs out of it in the end. And behind is a bit of a slide. Contact. Fancy Locks his round. He manages to keep the 4GT in a straight line, but I think that was contact with Snipes or Lord Isildur. I didn't quite see which Pegasus car it was, but the gaps have started to open up for the drivers towards the back of that pack that went off at the first corner. Let's have another look then at the race start to see exactly what happened in the midfield, because it was carnage drama down towards turn 2. So watching in the midfield, everyone running 2 by 2. As we make our way down in towards the dock section, everyone of course flat out running very close together, side by side in the background. I'm not sure who was the cause of the crash. I'm sure we're about to find out. We might have found our victim. Oh, so many drivers running deep, and then I think this is Fancy Locks that just finish them off. That looked like 3 or 4 drivers naturally running deep into the corner, and then there was a 4GT that was doing its best impression of Valtteri Bottas at Hungary in 2021, completely KO'd 3 or 4 cars. I think an incident that the stewards might look to get involved in, as the front 2 separated by 2/10 at the end of lap 4. Prime car having to defend from Miles down towards the hairpin. The Genesis drifting through on the exit of the corner. But behind the 2 Spider GT drivers running strong in this race. They've got 2 drivers into the top 4. Auto Rachelon's had a good start up into 5th place. He leads Latari for 5th and 6th. But I think he's made a little bit of a mistake. I think he hit the inside barrier at turn 12. No, not turn 12, turn 13, which has compromised his run through the middle sector. But back up to our race leaders that crossed the start-finish line to start lap 5 of 39. Separated by about 3/10 of a second, and Miles didn't get the best of exits through turn 1, but he's tucked up nicely in the slipstream of the car in front. Gaining all the time down the back straight. Does Prime car choose to defend this position? Pulls over to the middle of the racetrack, but Miles isn't quite close enough to go for a move. The 2 Spider GT drivers behind swap positions. As Oricus now up into 3rd place. Auto Rachelon having to defend from Latari in 6th place as they get very close together on the racetrack. Snipes, I think that's looking for a move on his teammates, perhaps. Or the 2 Pegasus drivers might work together to catch up to Bada Big, who I think all have a common goal, to try and catch up to the race leaders. Some drivers starting on the softs, some on the mediums. Our race leaders have opted for the red striped soft compound tyre, the fastest compound available, as have the 2 Spider GT drivers behind. Meanwhile, our race leaders now are side by side. Miles pulls over to the inside. He's late on the brakes. Can he move his way up into the lead of the race? Prime car goes deep. He runs wide and runs out of 1st place. Miles now into the lead of this race. Was that a spin? I thought I heard tyres screaming in the background. That could be. Latari moving his way up into the top 5 with a move down the inside of Auto Rachelon into the hairpin, and the Apex driver does move up into the top 5 with that move. Snipes is closely following his Pegasus teammate through turn 13, 15, 14, now 15, as they make their way through the final corner in 8th and 9th place. Our race leaders are separated by 1.2 seconds. Miles scraping the outside barrier in the run down towards turn 1. Sparks lighting up the outside of his car, but we'll get away with it. No damage, of course, to that car. I wonder how the Spider GT drivers will play this. I'm sure they would, of course, look to try and work together as best they can to close down that gap to the top 2. Latari now leading Auto through the dock section, having gotten ahead on the last lap. And Snipes has gotten past his teammate. We missed that overtake, but the 2 Pegasus drivers have swapped positions. The Dutchman now into 8th place, can hunt down his fellow countryman Badabik for 7th place, and the gap is 1.2 seconds, is not really closing too much down the back straight, but it looks like the Porsche is gaining on the Nissan GTR. Maybe a slightly different aero setup that's giving that 911 a little bit more straight line speed. Badabig on the soft compound tyres, as is Snipes. Auto is on the mediums, which could explain why they decided to do the swap. 7 laps into a 39-lap race, and Miles took the lead pretty early on, despite starting from the back of the grid. He leads by 2 seconds from Prime Cole. Orcus leads his Spider GT teammates for the final spot on the podium in 4th and 5th place, and Latari now starting to build a bit of a gap between himself and Auto Rachelon. It's only a second though, but the gap starting to increase a little bit. Snipes started to gain on Bada Big for 7th place. The gap now 9/10 of a second, and it's beginning to close. Snipes took a little bit late on the brakes, but he's managed to slow it down in time. The Porsche appears to be very good under braking down and towards the hairpin. Meanwhile, behind, we've got this train of cars for drivers running just inside the top 10. Lord Isildur closely following his teammates, but has Fancy Locks right behind him. Convey, of course, made an early pit stop at the end of lap 3 after picking up a 5/10 penalty, and coming rather close with the 2 Spider GT drivers, but he's now got clean air to try and push and attack this stint. Maybe try and undercut a couple of drivers that were around him as well. The gap out in front extending out as 2.9 seconds, and I think the FGI driver will be looking to do what his teammate done last week and absolutely pull away from the drivers behind. FGR are having a pretty good season in terms of championship standings. They are, of course, running in 3rd place, but only 21 points off of Falcon Racing Lab on 200 points, 179 for the FGR team. And almost looks like we're set for the top 5 teams in terms of who's going to qualify for those final 5 races. Project Platypus have got nearly an 80-point gap to Aero GT in 6th place in the standings, that recently overtook Spider GT. We've got these 2 drivers running in 3rd and 4th place that will be trying their best to reduce that gap as best they can and challenge for a spot into the top 5. That looked like it was over the white lines. Indeed it was for Snipes, and for disobeying track limits he will have to slow down on the start finish straight at the penalty gate for half a second, and that will let Bada Big through, who has actually dropped down into 8th place. So Snipes, having recently gotten past the Dutchman, will now drop behind him and have to make the overtake once again. Unless Bada Big overtakes him before he serves his time penalty down towards turn 11. One of the best overtaking opportunities at the circuit. Snipes going to come into the pits, and that allows Bada Big through up into 7th place. I think Snipes is the only driver to be pitting at the end of this lap. Lord Isildur moves up into 8th place, getting past his Pegasus teammate. Fancy Locks might get involved in this battle as well and try and find his way past the 2 teammates in front of him. We're on board in the cockpit of Ford GT. Let's just listen to the engine sounds and his throttle application through this sector. A little bit tentative on the throttle, exiting the final corner, losing a little bit of time to the car in front. Just had to adjust the steering a little bit to avoid hitting the inside barrier. Oricus is now beginning to, I think, close the gap to Prime Cole. Having said that, look at that. Prime Cole's consistency, 55.7 on the dot for 2 consecutive laps to the 1000th. The gap, 2 seconds between Prime Cole and Oricus. The gap to his teammate, though, is starting to increase, 1.2, 1.1 seconds. Now the gap between the 2 Spider GT drivers. Probably our closest battle on the track is this battle for 7th place between Auto Rachelon and Bada Big. The Dutchman in the Nissan GTR closing in on the Audi R8, but of course they will be into the pits pretty soon. not necessarily for tyres, but more for fuel. Tyre wear around this circuit isn't too harsh. Miles is into the pits with nothing left in the fuel tank. Prime Cole continues on for another lap. German in to change his tyres. We'll see how much fuel he puts in this very unique pit lane. Auto Astronaut follows Latari into the pits. As Miles is released, when he filter out into traffic, he's got a little bit of clean air, but he's got the two Pegasus drivers 3 seconds in front of him. But of course they will probably be into the pits at the end of this lap, which won't hinder him too badly if he doesn't catch them before the end of lap 10. Which means Prime Cole re-inherits the lead of the race, having started from pole position. We'll take his soft tyres one more lap. Ten laps into this 39-lap race here at Tokyo Expressway South, counterclockwise for round 5 of Season 4 of the ALR Esports League. And it's Prime Cole, who started on pole position, now leads this race because Miles made his first pit stop of the evening. He drops down into 6th place, 1.5 seconds behind the Pegasus team of Lord Isildur in 4th. As Snipes has made his way past. I didn't press that to do that replay, but we can have another look actually of this lap 1 incident whilst we're at it. I didn't intend to get a replay up, but we can watch this lap 1 incident once again. Let's watch it from the Pegasus team of Lord Isildur. Because what you're about to see is drivers running deep and then get collected by fancy locks on the inside. Several drivers running deep and then they're just shoved into the wall by the Brazilian. Rather interesting crash. But now we have drivers into pit lane and Miles takes the lead of the race once again. Prime Cole in for the mediums. Where does Confi come out in all of this? Jumps the Spider GT drivers up into 3rd place now, and has got a 3.8 second gap to the cars behind. Snipes running side by side with Astrof on the exit, putting less fuel in the car. He's moved up into 4th place. He came into the pits behind all these drivers, and Miles has disconnected from the lead of the race. Having started from the back of the grid, it took him 3 or 4 laps to move up into 1st place. But it's over on lap 11. Which means Prime Cole takes the lead of the race, with Confi in 2nd. Snipes now running in a podium position, having pitted from I think 8th or 9th place. But of course has put less fuel in the tank than the Spider GT drivers behind him, which I think have fueled for the rest of the race. Bada Big now running in 6th place and not too far behind the guys in front. We've got a very close battle on our hands now for not only the final spot on the podium, but for the lead of this race. The leaders are making their way down the back straights, having recently pitted for a set of the medium compound tyres. Confi, though, having gone on to the softs, closing in on the race leader, nearly hits the back of him down towards turn 11, just about avoids the back of the Aero GT car. Gap behind 1.8 seconds. Confi to Snipes, who's done really well to get up into third place. The two Spider GT drivers still running close to one another and can try and work together to at least get one of their drivers, if not both, onto the podium. Convi though trying to get one step higher on that podium as he attacks Prime Cold down towards the first corner. 5/10 separating the Alfa Romeo 4C from the Lexus RCF, but hitting the barrier on the exit of turn 1 will slow down his progress in the run down towards turn 2. That gap now opening up to 0.8 of a second, having made that mistake. And sliding his way through the dock section. That's not going to help his tyres. Orcus has now actually been overtaken by Bada Big. I think he made a mistake down into the dock section. He's 1.7 seconds down on his personal best. Whether that's just the difference between the mediums and the softs, I'm not too sure. But he's lost a lot of time, which makes me think that Bada Big's capitalised on a mistake from the Spider GT driver and can now look to attack the other that runs in 4th place. Despite making that mistake a lap ago, Confi has closed down that gap back up to Prime Cole for the lead of this race. The front three have really converged on each other. 1 second separating these three drivers. 3 different nationalities, 3 different cars, 3 different teams fighting for the podium positions. Prime Cole started this race on pole position and leads the field away. One third of the way into this race. Nearly 25 minutes in, this race could, will reach 70 minutes, could be about 73 minutes of racing action here at Tokyo Expressway. I hope the drivers are a fan of this track because it's a slightly longer one than usual. The wrong layout was used, I believe, when calculating the race distance. Of course, we don't go to the docks in the clockwise version of this layout. Snipes is all over the back of Confi on those much fresher soft compound tyres. 5 lap fresher tyres to be precise. Snipes has got to run down the back straight through turn 8 and 9. Confi hits the barrier on the outside, and that's what concedes the position to the Pegasus driver. Snipes now running in 2nd place, having started, I think, in 8th or 9th place. Either way, it was towards the back of the grid. Confi's late on the brakes. That looked late on the brakes. I think later than it was. The brakes on that Alfa Romeo performing pretty well as he slides his way once again through the hairpin. Now runs 7/10 behind Snipes, who's now challenging for the lead of the race. Bada Big's been re-overtaken now by Oricus, who moves himself up into the top 5. Bada Big, I think, might have made a mistake because he's 2.3 seconds slower than his personal best. And I think after only 3 laps after pitting, I don't think that's down to tyre wear. The top 3 making their way through the first corner. Astroff leads Oricus for the Spider GT team. Bada Big has Auto Echelon 9/10 behind him going through the first corner. Down towards the dock section for the 14th time this evening. Prime Cole on the mediums, doing well to hold off Snipes on the softs. It'll be interesting to see how the strategies develop towards the end of this race, with drivers putting in different fuel loads and going on to different tyre compounds. Of course, Tokyo isn't the most technical of circuits, but like most in Gran Turismo, there is quite the tyre delta between softs, the mediums and the hards. I think it's a minimum of 8/10 across the average track, maybe a second 8 tenths to a second is the difference between a fresh medium and a fresh soft. And of course you add an extra 8 tenths to a second between a medium and a hard. We haven't seen the hard compound tyres used too often this season, most notably at round 4 when we were at Autopolis. A couple of drivers tried to go long on that hard compound tyre, but I don't think the pace was really there on that slower tyre to make it work at that technical circuit. Despite being quite high in deg, it worked for some but not for others. Snipes though try to make the soft compound tyre work halfway through this stint. Primecoal though will be running much longer on those medium compound tyres. Might try and extend out that medium to end this race on the softs. Of course it is going to be a longer race than usual, so we might see a variation in the strategy. Auto Echelon has got past Badderby, who seems to be dropping down in this race. Unfortunately the replay doesn't go that far back to see how the Audi got past the GTR. But Badderby's had a really good run through turn 1. And meanwhile Snipes has moved his way up into the lead of the race, round the outside through turn 2. The Dutchman up into the lead of the race. Someone is sliding their way through turn 3. I think that's Confi drifting his way through on the apex. Auto keeping it tight to the inside, defending from Badderby, who tries to poke his bumper in on the inside, but couldn't quite find a way past. Meanwhile Snipes though up into the lead of the race. This is how he done it. Primecoal not with a good run through the first corner. Snipes already passed the Lexus by the time they get to the braking zone, but just brakes slightly later, has it covered on the outside and up into the lead of the race. Back to the live action now, and the Dutchman in the lead. Purple through the middle sector. And we'll be looking to try and gap Primecoal whilst he's on those soft compound tyres. Confi is into the pits off of the softs, having pitted really early on in this race. Badderbig's back down the inside of Auto Echelon, who's picked up a 5/10 time penalty. Badderbig already passed the Austrian by the time they actually got to the braking zone. So I think there might have been a mistake from Auto on the exit of turn 6. The right-hander before that back straight. It is very easy to put a little bit too much power down too soon, open up the steering angle too early and hit that barrier on the outside. It's a very crucial barrier to hit because it impacts your run all the way from turn 6 down to turn 11. You are flat out through that entire section of racetrack, as you are from turn 1 to turn 2. So several crucial corners at the circuit that can determine lap time. Of course, Astrov now running in 3rd place into a podium position for the Spider GT team, who continue to run 2 drivers inside the top 4. It's been a strong race so far for them. Badderbig's been up and down through the field, but is now running inside the top 5. The gaps towards the back have begun to open up a little bit. Confi now 1.5 seconds behind Fancy Locks. There's a couple of drivers at the back of the grid being involved in that lap 1 accident. But Badderbig's done well to recover that, and he's looking to pull up alongside the Porsche 911, round the outside through turn 8, the inside for turn 10. They get so close together, and this time a Spider GT driver is not pushed into the barrier on the exit of turn 10 because Badderbig, he's late on the brakes, he's down the inside. The Project Platypus driver moves up into 4th place, splits the Spider GT team. They're now running 3rd and 4th place. I think Oricus might be looking to try and get that position back as soon as he can. But of course, he's on the slower medium compound tyres actually, compared to Badderbig on those softs. Astrov as well on the medium, so these guys are doing a great job to stick with the drivers on the on the quicker soft compound tyre. Whether Badderbig knows what tyre compounds they're on, I'm not too sure. But being on those soft compound tyres, it's crucial that you make the most of them and move your way as high up the grid as you can. Astroff leads this train of cars down towards the dock section at turn 3-4. Spider Big hits the barrier on the outside of the track. Look at the delta coming down between him. Oricus, the German, might have a good enough run to challenge in towards turn 11. Having said that, Auto Rachelon's getting interested, and he's only a tenth and a half behind the Spider GT driver. Can the Austrian move his way up into the top 5? With a move in towards turn 11, he pulls over to the right hand side of the circuit. The left hand side of your screen, Snipes is into the pits. Auto's down the inside. They still run side by side on the exit of the corner. Oricus is going to have to run, having taken a wider line through the corner, and holds on to 4th place for now. Where will Snipe exit the pit lane? Does he get free air? Yes, he does. He's ahead of Lord Isildur, behind Autonomous. So on lap 18, Prime Cole leads. Drivers in the midfield hitting the barrier. I think that was Oricus that ran wide through turn 1. That will give Auto Rachelon the chance to move up into 4th place. Oricus defends the inside line. The Audi pulls alongside and now ahead of the Porsche before they get to the braking zone. Auto Rachelon now up into 4th place, and a relatively easy move from him. Bada Big try to challenge for 2nd place, but Astroff is keeping the position on those medium compound tyres. Looks like Astroff has set his car up nicely for this race, but Bada Big's had a great run through turn 8, through turn 6. Look how much he's closing in on the car in front. Can he try and work his way round the outside for turn 8? Now side by side with the Lexus, door to door with the car in front. Bada Big now moves his way up into 2nd place, ahead of Astroff that tucks in behind the Nissan. Is he going to try and attack late on the brakes? No, he's not. Just settles in behind for now. But both Spider GT drivers losing a position on this lap, as the gap to the lead is now opened up to 8.4 seconds. We're approaching the halfway point in this race, and we're 35 minutes in to round 5 here at Tokyo. In the midfield, Latari is ahead of Autonomous. Snipes pitted on the last lap and is 1.2 seconds behind the German. The Dutchman have tried to, of course, undercut and stay ahead of the cars that were around him in the top 5. The drivers that were involved in that lap 1 incident haven't quite recovered as well as Bada Big, but are still setting some good lap times. Confi made an early pit stop in this race on the end of lap 2, and is trying a different alternate strategy here tonight for the Arix Racing team. I'll have to wait and see if it pays off for him, but he's currently running in 10th place. I think he's about 7 seconds behind Snipes, who was running inside the top 3. And so we'll have to wait and see how the strategy evolves throughout the course of the race. The gap is coming down ever so slightly for between the top two, 8.3 seconds. Are we seeing anyone coming into the pits at the end of this lap? No, we're not, of course. Drivers still got plenty of fuel left in the tank. Some of those, however, who have opted for the soft compound tyres will be starting to feel the wear, as they are about 50% through the life of those tyres. Snipes is now right behind his Pegasus teammate, goes for the move down the inside in towards turn 12 and up into 7th place. That might have been an orchestrated move by the team, but nevertheless the Dutchman is up into 7th place and can continue the hunt for the drivers inside the top 6. Of course, he could be fighting for a solid finish in this race. Was running in 2nd before he made his pit stop, but with different tyres and different fuel loads, it's really hard to tell where everyone is until they filter out onto the track when they've made their final pit stops in the race. As we're halfway through this race, if you are watching live, let me know in the chat, do you prefer this version of Tokyo or do you prefer the south clockwise version where the final corner is turn 1, and of course we don't go to the dock section, instead you have a little bit of a chicane before what is the final corner on the clockwise layout, or turn 1 here tonight. I think I favour this track for, well, I like both are great, but I'm faster around the other layouts of Tokyo. This one for some reason I just cannot get right. Bada Big is wide through turn 11 because he's into the pits off of those soft compound tyres, and fuel will be going into the back of that Nissan GTR. Car number 34 into the pits. As the Confi's gotten ahead of Lord Isildur, Bada Big will filter out onto the racetrack last with a full tank of fuel. That should, maybe, I think, get him to the end of the race. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, all the viewers watching it live, let me know your favourite layout of Tokyo. No, sorry, which version of the south layout do you prefer? And what is your favourite layout of Tokyo? Is it the east? Is it the central? Is it the south configurations of these streets of Tokyo? Primeco though leads this race here at Tokyo Expressway ahead of Astroff and Auto Astronaut now running in 3rd place. Oricus rounding out the top 4. Spider GT are on course to score some big points here tonight for the team. But of course the race isn't yet over. Apex done really well to get 2 drivers into Lobby A, and Atari is the sole driver in Lobby B. A mistake from through turn 6 allows Oricus to now move up into a podium position. The mistake he made, this was it. Just ran a little bit wide, and that gave Oricus the run he needed down in towards turn 7. The tyres on that Audi R8 are starting to fade, but Auto Astronaut is having a brilliant race if you compare it last week out in Lago. It's been a solid performance from the Austrian, who struggled with the car at Lago. It really wasn't behaving nicely for him. Several times the rear was just letting go, snapping midway through the corner. This week though, seems to have dialed out those issues. Is now running in 4th place. Snipes now up into the top 5, having gotten past Latari a couple of laps ago. And I'm interested to see where Snipes is going to finish in this race, because he started down in 10th place and he's now running inside the top 5. And I think his strategy might pay off. Of course, we'll have to wait and see. It's only going to be the last couple of laps where we get to judge where everyone is. Compy's late on the brakes. He's down the inside and he's up into 7th place. An overtake for the Arex team, and the Alfa Romeo moves up into 7th place, of course, on an alternate strategy to everyone else. Pitted at the end of lap 3, end of lap 2, sorry, started lap 3, the earliest of anyone, and will be trying to make his way through the field. The gap, sorry, I just tried to have a bite to eat. I just couldn't get it down me. Apologies. We're on lap 22 of 39 here at Tokyo Expressway, and our race leader is leading the field by just over 11 seconds. I think we're about to see drivers coming into the pits. Auto Echelon is starting to be low on fuel, and the soft compound tyres are starting to fade. Snipes is only 2.8 seconds behind him, and of course has made his pit stop, so it's going to be quite interesting to see how the strategy fares out in this race. And the two Spider GT drivers up the road don't look to be working together. Ostrov looking to go down the inside, but I think that's a change of position, because I think Oricus is now up into 2nd place. And I think they have swapped positions here. We're not seeing too much in terms of on-track action, but that is to be expected at this phase of the race, where drivers are putting different levels of tyres and different levels of fuel. They're going to be lapping differently, and of course, by the time that they make their final pit stop, you have the drivers on the slower tyre, typically towards the front of the grid, drivers on the faster tyre behind. Whether they can catch up and get past in whatever laps are left in the race. Because of course those who have gone soft will be towards the front of this pack. Those who have gone soft medium won't have lapped quicker than those who have gone soft, but will be finishing this race on that soft compound tyre presumably, or at least a fresher set of mediums. On a fresher set of soft compound tyres, there is Snipes attacking the Audi R8 for 4th place. Nearly pushing Auto Echelon through turn 1. He pulls up alongside down the back straight. It's a long run down towards turn 2, so these two could be side by side for a while. The Porsche just out dragging the Audi as they get to the braking zone, looking for that 100-metre board. Late on the brakes. And Snipes now up into 4th place. Auto Echelon will be into the pits, I think, at the end of this lap. He's running low on tyres and fuel. And sliding his way on the exit of turn 5. And that's very much reminiscent to how his car was behaving last week at Lago. Doesn't seem to be treating him too nicely towards the end of this stint. I think the soft compound tyres are beginning to affect his rear stability. Badabig now runs in 11th place behind Fancy Locks in that Ford GT, who's been trying to hunt down Lord Isildur since pretty much the opening couple of laps, when there was that lap 1 incident that was finished off by the Brazilian, you might add, you could say. Several drivers ran deep in towards the second corner, but he ran deeper than them all and had nowhere to go. Of course, it being a street circuit, ran into the side of a couple of cars. A couple of cars, though, are into the pits at the end of lap 24 to get off their worn tyres and refuel to the end of the race. Confi now moves up into 6th place. Prime Car, though, leads by 11.5 seconds. Does have to make another pit stop in this race, of course, but so do the cars behind. I don't think Snipes can make it to the end of the race, but on this strategy, by pitting twice for the softs, he's caught up to those going long on the mediums, and this is what we haven't really seen thus far this season. Of course, with this being a slightly longer race than usual, we're now seeing 2 sets of soft compound tyres being just as quick over 2 stints than 1 stint on the medium compound tyres, and that's evident by Snipes' pace on that red stripe tyre that's caught up, back up to the Spider GT team, now running in 2nd and 3rd place. These two haven't been separated since the lights went out, and they've been running pretty much nose to tail ever since. And they're on course for a solid finish here in Lobby B. Unfortunately, the only 2 Spider GT drivers on the grid tonight, one of whom is serving a quali ban for an incident last week at Lago. But the race leader is into the pits at the end of lap 25, off of the mediums. Are we going to see anyone follow him in? No, we are not. Both the Spider GT drivers staying out for another lap on those mediums as they're being caught up by Snipes, who's now into a podium position as Prime Car comes into the pits, refueling that Lexus RCF, and will get sent back out onto the racetrack behind Convi, who still needs to pit again. Doesn't need to, but I think will have to, given the state of those soft compound tyres. We are riding on board with Astrov here, making his way down the hill. Going to run down towards turn 2 as they approach the docks section once again. He follows his teammate by 0.5 of a second before braking just before the 100-metre board as the brake discs illuminating under the night sky here at Tokyo. The docks well lit, as is the rest of this track. I wonder if Astrov and Spider GT are saving fuel, because they've swapped positions a couple of times in this race, not often, but maybe that's why they're not attacking each other, because they're just able to back off the pace a little bit, conserve a bit of fuel while sitting in the slipstream, which ultimately will result in a slower pit stop time, which should boost them up the grid. Prime Car's come out in a lovely set of clean air for him. About 12-14 seconds behind, as Snipes has actually got up into 2nd place. Let's watch this on board with the Dutchman following the back of the Spider GT team. I don't think Astrov is going to see this late sense down the inside. He's late on the brakes, the door is open, and he slows it down in time to even hit the apex, and that's a beautiful move up into 2nd place. This strategy is working really well for Snipes, who can now challenge for, well, what will be the lead of the race, but Prime Car has made his pit stop. But whilst Spider GT have gone long on the medium, Snipes has made 2 stints on the softs work for him, because he's now challenging these guys for his 1st place on the track. Pegasus driver started down in 10th place, but he's made his way up to the front. Oricus is having to defend the inside because here comes Snipes to the outside. Who's going to be last of the breakers? Oricus one's wide, Snipes with the switch back to the inside at turn 4. Shows Orikis the barrier and moves up into the lead of the race. That's a beautiful overtake from him. We can watch it back to see how he done it. The Spider GT driver, a little bit later on the brakes, Snipes then cuts back on the inside and moves up into first place. One Porsche getting past another. I wonder if Orikis and Astroff will be into the pits at the end of this lap to get off those mediums now and bolt on a set of soft compound tyres. I think they should be able to do 13 laps to get them to the end of the race, and indeed they are. All three of them coming into the pits, and they all have similar amount of fuel, and so while Snipes will be onto the mediums, guys behind will be on a fresh set of softs. Confy's also into the pits, which means Primecar retakes the lead of the race once again, having started from pole position. Lord Isildur now runs in second place, but I think he's yet to make his final pit stop of the evening. Anyone jumping in the pits? Snipes has gone from, in this train of cars, third to fifth. He's been jumped by both Spider GT drivers, and look who's arriving hot on the scene, Bada Big, on those up to temp medium tyres. Just runs in 6th place, only 7/10 behind Snipes. I think we could see a battle between those two before the end of the race. I think on the soft compound tyres, the two Spider GT drivers might begin to pull away with this one for 7th, 2nd and 3rd place. Auto Ration on those soft compound tyres, will keep an eye on him and Confy, because they're going to be lapping very quickly towards the end of this race, as is Latari, who's running side by side with Confy to the outside across the line, now up into 8th place. These guys on the softs, we saw what Snipes done to the Spider GT drivers. I think these guys will be doing the same to Snipes as Confy smashes the outside barrier at turn 1. I don't think Snipes and Bada Big can afford to race each other too hard. Of course it's all for position, but they've got 3 cars behind them on fresh soft compound tyres, 5.5 seconds behind, with over 10 laps to go on lap 28 to 39. This could be very close between those 5 drivers towards the latter stages of this race. On paper, the 2 Spider GT drivers should pull away from these two as they run side by side through the tunnel. Bada Big and Snipes running door to door. I think they're making a little bit of contact through the right-hander. But Bada Big now on the inside, gets up into the top 5, moves up into 5th place. But Snipes is still going to stick with him as best he can. He is on the fresher medium compound tyres. The gap though is coming down. They gained 4 seconds in that sector alone, did Auto Ration on. And of course Latari, Confy, both are gaining as well on their fresh soft compound tyres. Stay tuned ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to be in for a showdown of a finish here at Tokyo. Lord Isildur runs in 2nd place, but is yet to make his final stop. He's running low on the fuel. He'll be looking to try and finish this race strong on a set of soft compound tyres for the Pegasus team. I think he'll be into the pits at the end of this lap. Astroff and Orikis for running in 3rd and 4th place. We'll be looking to try and pull away from these guys in 5th and 6th and do their best to try and close down the race leader that has a rather comfortable lead towards the end of this race. Of course, Miles disconnecting from the race, from the lead of the race as well. He's looking strong to dominate this race. That gap between Snipes and Auto Ration now 4.8 seconds with just over 10 laps to go here at the Japanese Grand Prix. Lord of Sildor comes into the pits for the end of the lap. Snipes tries to look for a move on the inside of Bada Big, but the door was always closing. He wasn't far enough alongside to try and go for the move. I think Auto's made a mistake. He's just lost half a second to the cars in front. Indeed, he's 1 second slower than his personal best. Confi's closed down that gap to now only a second to an Atari in front. Apex, of course, getting 2 drivers into Tier 1 or Lobby A this week. He's running a good race in 7th place. But up front, the gap, 10 seconds between Prime Cole and Orikis. The top 2 in this race. I wonder if we'll see the Spider GT drivers fight each other towards the end of this race, or if they'll continue to work together. Bada Big and Snipes will be looking to try and keep that gap as behind as large as they can. Currently just over 5 seconds. Confi though has picked up a 5/10 penalty through the docks, the only corner that you can cut at this circuit, and he's cut it once again. There's another 5/10 penalty for him, which will compromise his progress to try and finish into the top 6. The Alfa Romeo appearing to struggle a little bit tonight. I think it's the first time an Eric's driver has been in Lobby B this season. But Snipes and Bada Big going side by side through the final sector. Bada Big on the inside maintains 4th position, but Snipes doing his best to try and get past the Nissan GTR. That could have ended in disaster. We're going to get a replay of what happened between that. Snipes was such a good run up the hill. Darts over to the inside. Nearly makes contact with the back of the Platypus car. But they both live to fight another day. Now down the hill and the run down towards the dock section. The battle for 4th place. Bada Big defensive to the inside. Snipes pulls over to the outside for turn 2. He's late on the brakes. He's round the outside, but there's contact between the two. Bada Big just making contact with the rear right of Snipes' Porsche. Snipes gets a little bit out of control on the exit, and Bada Big keeps the position. I'm not sure Snipes will be. I don't think Snipes will be too happy about that. They've just lost time to the car behind. But here comes Snipes attacking once again to the outside of turn 7, the inside for turn 8. They run side by side and door to door. But Snipes now moves up into 4th. Bada Big will tuck in behind in the slipstream to falls over to the inside. Down towards the hairpin at turn 11. Bada Big late on the brakes. Can he slow him down in time? Yes, he does. Hits the apex, and now moves back up into 4th place. The gap behind now only 4 seconds. We could have a couple of cars approaching hot on the scene if Auto Rationon can keep his soft compound tyres in with enough grip on them. That didn't make much sense. I was trying to say if he can keep them in good shape, that's the word, to make a late attack in this race. Back in front though, Orikis leads Astrov for 2nd place. The 2 Spider GT drivers on the podium here tonight in Tokyo. We're on lap 32 of 39. 8 laps to go here for round 5. Closest battle on track at the minute is the battle for 4th place, but to update you on drivers further behind, Atari runs in 7th place ahead of Confi in 8th, both of which on fresh soft compound tyres, trying to close down the gap to the top 5. Lord Isildur Fancy Locks involved in the lap 1 incident, and Autonomous running in 11th. I think he was also involved in that lap 1 shunt at turn 2. But still doesn't run too far behind the cars in front. The gap out in front though has calmed down slightly, now only 8 seconds between the top 2. Of course, Primeco is on the mediums and the 2 Spider GT drivers are on the softs, but I don't think they're making a big enough impression to try and win this race. Bada Big is gaining and gaining and gaining. He pulls over to the inside. He's late on the brakes. Moves his way up into 4th place. Snipes hits the back of him, I think, at the apex. Tries to switch back. Bada Biggs is loose on the rear and oversteers into the side of the Porsche. And as these guys battle, Auto Echelon closing that gap down to now 3.3 seconds. Snipes holds on to 4th position for now, but it's starting to get a little bit aggressive between these two. The elbows are out as they fight to defend 4th place in the last 10-15 minutes of the Japanese Grand Prix. We are over the hour mark here in Japan. We're now running on board with Bada Big inside his Nissan GTR, hunting down the Pegasus car in front. Snipes running in 4th place, has done really well, having started from the back of the grid in 10th place. Only had 2 cars behind him, but has made a strategic masterclass in this race, as well as making some great overtakes to move his way up into 4th place. Has got Bada Big to defend from for now, and is being closed down by Auto Echelon in 6th place. Those soft compound tyres though are beginning to wear. He needs to catch up soon if he's to have enough grip left by the end to attack, but needs to keep enough grip left in those tyres to make a worthy attack. Primeco leads as he has done for many laps here for the Aero GT team. Spider GT are on course for a 2-3 finish. That'd be a great finish for them. I think that's going to be their best finish when they've had 2 drivers in Lobby B. Snipes though will be trying to defend from Bada Big as best he can, but I think Bada Big's just starting to lose touch a little bit with Snipes. But those softs they are going off on the Audi, I think, as well, for Latari and Confi. The Swiss though has closed down that gap back up to the South African, as the Arex driver closes the gap to the Apex team. Less than half a second through turn 1. It might be enough by the time they get to turn 2, but I think Latari will have the gap to stay ahead of Confi by the time they get to their braking zone. We'll have to wait and see how this battle unfolds for 7th place, and if they are closing on Auto for 6th place. We've seen how quickly the Audi can wear through its tyres, so that might be these guys as saving grace towards the end of this race for a couple extra positions. But Confi's had a really good run through the docks. He's gained 2 or 3 tenths of a second on Latari in front. The Aston Martin just struggling a little bit with front end grip, but he's got a good exit through turn 6, which might keep him ahead for now. But of course Confi's going to have the slipstream as they make their way down the back straight for the 34th time this evening. The Alfa Romeo 4C not gaining too much on the V12 Vantage, but he's gaining and gaining. He pulls over to the outside. Latari defends the inside. Contact made. They bang wheels as Confi tries to go around the outside. Latari forces him wide, nearly to the pin and entrance. Confi plays a little bit more brake, tries to switch back. They now run side by side up the hill. Confi has the inside line for turn 13, but Latari tries to cover him off. A little bit more contact made between the two cars with Confi on the inside, now the outside for the next corner, but once again with the inside line, moves up into 2nd and 7th place. Latari will just have to sit in behind and be patient with this one. The elbows have certainly been extended by several drivers towards the end of this race, and with 5 laps to go, it's still all to play for. Balabig has just lost touch with the back of Snipes. Those fresh and medium compound tyres working well for the Dutchman. Project Platypus driver just fading away towards the end of this race, having been on a slightly alternate strategy to the cars around him. And for those who are tuning in from the IndyCar, welcome to ALR Esports League Season 4, round number 5 here at Tokyo Expressway South, counterclockwise. I believe the IndyCar has recently finished, so any viewers that have gone from one exciting racing league to another, you join us here for what has been quite the entertaining race. Primeco has led most of the laps here tonight. Spider GT have done well to field 2 drivers in the top 3. And I was saying there's a couple of laps to go, how the tyres on the Audi R8 begin to fade very quickly. Auto Rashidon was sliding his way through the final sector. He's lost so much time to Confi behind to end lap 35 and start lap 36. The Alfa Romeo's got a great run on the Audi R8 in the run down towards turn 1. The Arix driver will be looking to try and move his way into the top 6. And with a good run through turn 1, he might have just that. We're on board with the Alfa Romeo, tucked up in the slipstream of the Audi R8. And is gaining and gaining all the time. He pulls over to the right hand side of the track. He's late on the brakes. He's down the inside. Can he slow it down in time? Yes, he can. Auto's going to try and hold it round the outside, but Confi's done enough to move up into 6th place. Auto Rashidon might begin to fall through the pack towards the end of this race. He does have 1.5 seconds to Latari behind, but he is keeping up with Confi down the back straight. He's going to challenge the Swiss driver. He has a look on the left hand side. Confi's a little bit out of shape as they nearly collide at the apex of turn 10, but did lose them 0.4 of a second to the car behind, which has now closed down the gap. Confi sliding his way on the exit of turn 11, which he has done so quite often in that Alfa Romeo. And we've got a 3-way fight for 6th place here towards the end of this race. Atara's gone for it down the inside of Auto in towards turn 1, gets the move done, moves his Aston Martin up into 7th place. Auto's tyres are just beginning to fall off the cliff towards the end of the race. The Audi struggling with rear grip, especially through that technical final sector. but he's in the slipstream of the car in front, pulls over to the inside. How late do you brake on the inside? Can he slow it down in time? Or will Latari try the switchback? He has the inside line for turn 3, but makes contact with the Audi. Lets him go back through, I think. But Auto now back up into 7th place. Latari's going to try and fight this one back to the outside at turn 9. Through the tunnel we go, the longest flat out part of the circuit. I was going to say the longest straight, but it's not exactly straight. Auto now defensive to the inside, trying to cover off the attacking Aston Martin behind towards the final few stages of the race, trying to make up for a bad race at Lago Maggiore. Our race leader, Primecole, starts the penultimate lap of the race. As Latari hits the wall on the inside, that compromises his exit speed from the hairpin. I lost him 3 or 4 tenths, and that's the thing about this track here at Tokyo. It's such a high speed circuit that if you hit the barrier, no matter how big or small, it just sends your momentum out the window, and you can lose tenths of a second in doing so. And you can see the gap was 2 tenths, it's now 6. By the time they get to turn 1, he's going to have to try and work a little bit harder to get that back down to 2 tenths to attack the LDR8. But whilst the Aston struggles with its front tyres, the Audi struggles with the rears. The R8's already a snappy car as it is. Throw in some worn rear compound tyres and that is a recipe for disaster. Snipes though has been able to pull out a 7-second gap to Bada Big since he overtook the Project Platypus car. Snipes though hasn't been able to close down that gap to the top 2, which have closed down that gap to the race leader, but they're going to need a couple more laps if they're to get past him. The gap's still 5.7 seconds. Bada Big's picked up a half-second time penalty, and with only 2.6 seconds to Confi, he's going to need a clean final lap if he's to keep a spot in the top 5. Auto Rachelon as well in 7th place has got Latari closely following him for 7th place. And apart from that rather sizable accident down towards the first corner, it has been a relatively incident-free race tonight. Lots of that. I think that there were quite a few incidents reported from last week's race at Lago. I don't think there'll be too many of them here tonight at Tokyo. But we're about to start the final lap of the race. The race leaders have already crossed the line for the final time tonight. Auto Rachelon is really beginning to struggle with his tyres. Behind, Lord Isildur could maybe capitalise on a last lap attack if there is an incident between the 2 cars in front. Primecole making his way through the docks for the final time this evening. Can Latari find a way past Auto Rachelon? He's tried his hardest for so long in this race. The Austrian beginning to struggle with his rear tyres towards the dying embers of this race. This is one of 2 opportunities for Latari to try and send it. He doesn't into the docks. Combi might try and attack Bada Big towards the end of this race as well. 4 tenths between him and a spot into the top 5, but he's hit the wall on the outside. Another slide on the exit of turn 5 for Auto Rachelon. Up front, how good was the exit from Confi? It was good, but I don't think it was as good. He is gaining in the slipstream. 6 tenths of a second between him and Bada Big. Can he get close enough to send it on the inside in towards the final couple of corners? Behind them, here comes Latari on Auto Rachelon, already defending the inside. It's the Audi R8. Does the Aston send it to the inside? He's late on the brakes, but not late enough. But the race leader, Primecole, rounds the final corner from pole position. I don't know who's got the fastest lap, but he crosses the line and wins the Japanese Grand Prix here at Tokyo for the Aero GT team. It's a Spider GT 2 and 3. They cross the line neck and neck, single file in formation. Astroff getting allowed past his teammate. Snipes with a great strategy up into 4th place. Bada Big is just about going to hold on to a spot in 5th place. Comfy in 6th place. Auto Rachelon holds on to Latari, but he ran out of fuel. No, he doesn't. Latari finishes in 7th place because Autos ran out of fuel across the line. Lord Isildur finishes in 9th place. Autonomous will finish in 10th as he crosses the line. And just missing out on a spot inside the top 10, having been at the cause of the incident on lap 1. Fancy Locks finishes in 11th place. But just to, we're not going to see what happened at the end. Latari getting Auto Rachelon on the line. The Austrian running out of fuel. There is your race leader. Prime Carl started from pole and won the race here at Tokyo. To run down your finishing grid for tonight's race, Prime Carl, your victor here tonight. Fastest lap went to Miles 54.1, but of course disconnected in this race. So Prime Carl wins the Japanese Grand Prix ahead of Astroff and Oricus for Spider GT 2-3. Snipes in 4th place, had a Bada Big in 5th, Comfy in 6th, Latari in 7th, beating Auto Rachelon on the line to 8th place, Lord Isildur in 9th, Autonomous in 10th, Vanzilox in 11th, and the only non-finisher tonight was Miles. Next week, we are off to Australia, the trip from Asia to Oceania, across the waters to tackle Mount Panorama, a track that is full of challenge and elevation. We could see quite a few mistakes in that race. Tune in to the same time, same place next week to see the action brought live to you by myself for that one. I've been Nathan, your commentator for this evening. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.